Education is preparation for reparations.
So next we are going to go to Cheif Eric Phillips. Now, some of you may have think that you travelled some distance to be here today, but that is not true. The person who took the longest time to get here today was Cheif Phillips. He's been travelling for 18 hours. So I know you're all going to listen very, very intently. Cheif Eric Phillips is currently a vice chair of the CARICOM Reparations Commission and the chair of the Guyana Reparations Committee. He is the facilitator for the Caribbean region for the African Union, African Diaspora High Council, and a member of Global Litigation and Advocacy Network. Eric was recently elected as the first vice president of the Global African Diaspora Kingdom of Traditional Leaders. And between 1990 and 1991, he was a White House Fellow. And he's even appeared on the cover of Business Week. But we're very, very pleased to hear from you today, and we thank you so much for travelling 18 hours to speak to us.
Thank you so much. All protocols observed. Good afternoon. In this new age of another Berlin conference driven by Trump, today I'm here to declare an African moral and legal emergency. The great lie of the 21st century is that history is behind us. The truth is, its crimes are unpaid. The real crisis of our time is not memory, but measurement. Not guilt, but accountability. The problem of the 21st century is not color. It is uncorrected theft. It is the absence of structured redress for structured injustice, that's why we're gathered here today, in a city that once legislated our enslavement. We're here not to recount our wounds, but to present our invoice. For too long, Africans have been told that their suffering was unfortunate, but untouchable. Historical, but unreachable. Today we rebut that lie with law, logic, and legacy. We meet not merely to reflect, but to restructure. Not merely to remember, but to rebuild. In July 1990, Henry Sylvester Williams and Alice Kinloch, thanks to our females, convened the first Pan-African conference on British soil. They did so in the name of all who had been scattered by slave ships and branded by colonial rule. 125 years later, we returned, not as orphans of a stolen continent, but as claimants of an unfulfilled debt. The tools we bring now today were unavailable in 1900, the Durban Declaration of 2001, the UN General Assembly Resolution 77/249, the principles of just cogence, continuing wrongs, and erga omnes responsibility, which makes our claim not only moral, but inalienably legal. Let us be clear, this generation will not walk away with apologies alone. We've entered the age of structured accountability and become equipped. We have a AAA strategy. We now operate under a reparation strategy that is tripartite, principled, and precise. What we call the AAA model. 1, developmental justice, because the moral is measurable. We also have diplomatic engagement. We want partnerships, not paternalism. And third, as part of the AAA model, we bring a legal architecture to move from ethics to enforceability. We begin with the developmental foundation because we know that freedom is not real without infrastructure, without access, and without sovereignty. CARICOM has a 10-point plan, seeking developmental justice. This is not charity. This is development through justice. Why does this matter? It matters because education without reparation is indoctrination. It matters because healthcare without redress is palliative, not restorative. It matters because debt cancellation without acknowledgement of the crime is stalling. We need financial repair. We need trillions, not thousands. Reparations is a return of what was extracted. And what was extracted was human capital, land, gold, dignity. It was extracted in structural, codified, and sovereign form. The plan is clear. We need developmental justice. The time is now. From a development approach, we move to a diplomatic engagement. We move from apology, which is diplomatic, to treaty. Reparations is no longer whispered in corridors. It's being debated in parliaments, senates, and the UN General Assembly. The diplomatic path is not optional. It is strategic, and it's now legally anchored. We have UNGA Resolution 77-249, which confirms that slavery and colonization are crimes against humanity. We have UNHRC Resolution 5132, which calls for reparations proportionate to the harms committed. We have third, Article 6, which mandates states to provide effective remedies for racial injustice. This is not soft law, as we often think. It is enforceable judicial precedent. We also have a treaty framework. We propose, like Israel's Luxembourg Agreement, an African model, which should include an African Reparations Development Fund. We need tech transfer protocols to get back our technology and our indigenous knowledge. We need public acknowledgement with legal annex, and we need special tribunal referral clause. We need a treaty law that demands good faith. So do we. On our legal front, our legal architecture is comprised of just cogans, ICJ initiatives, and reparations law. We come not only with memory today, as we did in 1900, but with mechanisms. The pursuit of reparations has moved from the realm of moral claim to the arena of binding international law, and we need to pursue that. And at the center of the legal architecture lies one principle: just cogents. Norms so fundamental that no state may violate them, not by treaty, custom, or silence. Today, of course, we should be pursuing an ICJ advisory opinion, affirming that slavery and colonization are just cogents violations. We also need a special reparations tribunal, like the Nuremberg tribunals, with Rwanda's ICTs, with standing CARICOM's initiatives, with the AU, and of course with civil society behind us. We need to pursue strategic lawsuits in the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, the European Court of Human Rights, UN Human Rights Committee. These are not symbolic gestures. These are justifiable pathways. Of course, we need economic reparations. So what do we demand? We demand, of course, that the European colonizers, as well as the United States, that we move from benevolence to legal repair, to moral repair. And we need us to deal with our targeted exploitation. We have everything backed by law. Third, CEDAW, the UN Permanent Forum on People of African Descent. Africans fueled the French Empire. We fueled the British Empire. We fueled the Portuguese Empire. And the Caribbean also fueled Britain's industrial growth. No other region of the world industrialized the plantation economy with the scale of human attrition, and yet we were never paid. Let the records show our ancestors were not laborers. They were nation builders, conscripted, unpaid, and brutalized under foreign flags. We must make the moral mandate a legal mandate. Our call is not vague and should not be vague. It should not be diplomatic. It should be codified. The pursuit of reparations is not an emotional appeal. It is a structured legal demand, resting on a global body of precedent, principle, and practice. We are now rewriting history, and we must now enforce legal norms, agreed already upon by every state in the room. There are so many laws out there that we are confused, we are schizophrenic, we're not focused, we don't have unity, and that's why we're not pursuing reparations in a strategic legal manner. I had to cut my speech significantly, so I'm just jumping. In Africa and the Caribbean, we must develop a new model of reparations. The framework must be based on the Luxembourg Agreement that has made Israel what it is today. We must pursue human rights obligations through the UN Security Council. We have a CARICOM 10-point plan. In closing, we have a covenant that we must agree upon. We must choose not to despair, as we see in our countries, as we see here today. We choose not with despair, but we must choose design. The world would ask, why reparations now? Why this generation? And we answer, because we are the first generation to possess the full tools, legal, economic, technological, moral tools, to not dream of justice, but to structure it. And that's why we are here today. What the world owes us is a great deal. They owe our children an economic ecosystem not built on stolen inheritance, but on the wealth they stole from us that they must return to us. What the world owes to our nations in Africa and the Caribbean is infrastructure financed by what was extracted. What they owe to our ancestors is restoration of memory, restoration of dignity, and measurable restitution. This is not a politics of guilt. Today we are in a geopolitics of repair. Let us leave today and leave at the next Pan-African conference with a blueprint. Let us leave today here not with applause. Let us leave with an agreement and a commitment, with alliances, with an architecture that's anchored in international law, with alliances grounded here in shared moral clarity, an architecture that links history, justice, and sovereignty. We came here not as victims. We came here as strategists today. We came here as claimants and engineers of the future. And finally, words to the Europe, to the UK, to the Netherlands, to the Church of England, to the institutions of finance and empire. We are not your benefactors. We are your legal respondents. We are here to get what is just. What we have to say to the African diaspora is the following. You are not, and we are not, broken descendants of pain. We are inheritors of claim, design, and dignity. Let 2025 be the year we leave behind in an era of maybe and enter an age of measured reparatory justice. One Africa, one diaspora, one future. Bayete Ashe.
Education is preparation for reparations.